Hey everybody, I'm Zach Ditmars for Fish Talk Magazine. Thank you for tuning in to another installment of Live with Lenny. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about spring fishing and all the things in store for the next couple months. Got lots of giveaways tonight, so stick around for the show. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce Mr. Lenny Rudo, our angler in chief. What's happening, Lenny?
Hey, Zach, how are you, man?
I'm great. How you doing?
It's still a little chilly. Still a little chilly. I understand it was warm today, but running around on an open boat on the 40-degree water was not warm.
Hey, at least you're on a boat. You can't complain.
No doubt. No doubt. That was a
I was
good thing.
driving a desk all day, so But
That was a good thing.
but warmer days are upon us. Looking forward to it.
Yep. And we are going to talk spring fishing and everything in a big way very shortly.
Thanks for
Hey,
joining us.
everybody. Um, but we got a whole lot going on. Holy mackerel. Where do we even get started, Zach?
Uh, let's get started with the Great Chesapeake Invasive Count. This runs all year long. So if you're out catching snakeheads, flatheads, or blue catfish, register for free, download the Angler app, and log those fish. You're gonna win some really cool prizes. It's been a little slow. We had an iced up bay here for the last few months, so participation was down a little bit. But surely this spring, those blue cats and snakeheads are going to be snapping. So
Yeah,
get out there and catch them up.
if you wanted to catch an invasives or anything in the last month, up until about a week ago, you would have been sawing holes in the ice.
That'd be cool. 40-pound blue cat through the ice. You need a 12-inch hole.
That would be kind of cool. I didn't think about that. That'd be very.
There's tons of cool prizes. It's free to participate. All the information goes to fisheries management, and you get to be a citizen scientist while you're out fishing. So it's a win-win, and you get lots of cool prizes. Prizes like Ingle coolers. Since there was no prizes, CCA has generously donated this prize for this evening. For all you guys watching, to get entered in this drawing, which we will do at 7 p.m. tonight, you just comment hashtag join CCA just as you see it there, all lowercase, all one word, and you'll be entered into the drawing for this cool cooler. I got like 3 Ingles. They're awesome coolers, and I don't have that one, so I wish I could enter, but
That's a serious cooler right there. And Zach, you are not able to enter.
Yeah. But so thank you, CCA Maryland, and surprise, we got a special guest from CCA Maryland. What's up, Dave Sikorsky?
Oh, we got Dave on mute.
All right,
Dave
let me see
mute.
if I can.
Major emergency. Dave on mute. There we go. Oh, no, back. Oh, there we go.
I fixed it. Hey, everybody. I was reading about this HD20 cooler bag and its volume, its size, and you can see, it's a nice size. Nice heavy-duty zipper on the top, stays sealed. It's bright color in there so you can see what you're doing down in there and get your ice, and the tag says it holds 40 cans. So I think that's perfect for a little bit of perch fishing, maybe a couple cold cans and some ice, and then you go replace it with fish when you're done with your drinks.
I was going to say cans. I want to know how many fish it holds. But wait, can you hold that up one more time, Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't know. I don't know if I ever catch fish small enough to fit in there.
Well, Lenny,
when I go perch fishing.
Lenny, you can actually probably fit a corkscrew in here or a box of wine, maybe some cardboard dough.
I have no idea what you're talking about there, Dave. I'm no clue.
Look, it comes with a bottle opener as well, so bottles are just fine in here. And there's some little strapping along here where you can attach different things. Very similar to the backpack coolers that we have as well, and you'll see some more of those coming soon. But we can do this thanks to our great friends at Angle, and somebody's going home with this cooler. And Zach, I don't know, behave yourself. We'll see if something happens. Zach, to jump into talking about fishing, maybe, Zach, I think, has some awards coming his way because our pickerel championship ended on Sunday. And I know he did pretty well. So we'll see. We have some tricks in the grab bag at CCA thanks to our great partners.
Nice. And, I would love to sit here and say, oh, that's the only reason we had you on tonight. But actually, there's a whole lot more to talk about, isn't there? People, before we get into the whole spring fling, what we got going on right now and what is coming up fishing-wise and what you need to do to get ready for it, there have been a whole lot of recent developments in the fisheries out there, in the management. And fortunately, Dave, you're up to date on all of this. So my gosh, where do we get started? I'm thinking the sea bass thing, right?
Yeah. So just to go backwards just a tiny bit, I serve on the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission as a legislative proxy for Delegate Dana Stein. So I'm one of 3 representatives for the state of Maryland. And so there's quarterly meetings of the commission, and through my role at CCA Maryland, I do monthly newsletters via video. And last month I did one on Valentine's Day. You can find it at the link in the bio on CCA's Instagram. And I give these updates to folks to try and talk them through and help them understand what's happening in our fisheries. Gave a talk like this at the boat show, at the Chesapeake Bay Boat Show, at the Northern Virginia chapter. And really at CCA, people say a lot about what we're doing and what our intentions are and what we're all about. But our number one focus here is to advise and educate people on conservation and making sure that you can be informed to get engaged in whatever way you see fit. Of course, we do take positions and push for different outcomes, and sitting at the table, shaping regulation. I work with states up and down the coast to try and find better access for Marylanders, to our resource, and also the balance of the resource for, the health of it into the future, which it just so happens that dovetails with CCA's mission. And so I'm honored to represent recreational anglers even beyond our membership. So yeah, sea bass at the last meeting in January or early February, I guess is the meeting of ASMFC. The commission decided that the sea bass fishery was liberalizing. We'd already decided that back in December. We were going to liberalize and add more access for fishermen, more bag limits and such. And the northern area, there's a northern range from North Carolina through Massachusetts, I think maybe New Hampshire. And they have pretty stringent rules because there's a lot of sea bass up there. So a lot of sea bass relatively close to shore means a lot of success. And then you have New Jersey, which is its own region. Of course, a big state with a lot of difference north to south, but also a ton of anglers and a ton of access to sea bass. So they catch the lion's share of the coast. And then you have Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina that we all work together to have our southern region rules try and align. And so all the rules don't align perfectly. I know in your last live with Lenny, you talked about the February season for sea bass in Virginia and the hope that Maryland could get one. That's not on tap right now for us, but today, just at 1 o'clock, the meeting kicked off of the Black Sea Bass Board to determine some final rules and review what the states had put together since the last meeting. And so we just worked our way through what these regs may look like. There's documents on the ASMFC website, and it's all just to achieve a total of a 20% liberalization. Today was a classic example of, I think, looking at an issue really too closely. There's some arguing about 20 versus 20.6 and whether or not we could accept 20.6 because it's a little more liberal. And then, of course, all the different discussions that happen in these types of meetings, I was pretty blunt with the folks and said, frankly, this is why we get a bad name as managers. 20 to 20.6. I mean, the margin of error in our data to begin with is so wide you could drive a bus through it. And now we're arguing over these little decimal points. So I asked some questions today about what is the risk here? What are we really talking about? What is the resolution or scale of this issue and this potential risk when we're talking decimal points over the original goal? The reality is that we ended up taking away options that were more than 20%. Only the options that are 20% are going to fly. For Maryland, it looks like there is a pathway towards a 12.5-inch fish, but there's some talk where the states to the south want a 13-inch fish in some different seasons. And so there's a split season option out there. And I'm not 100% sure the exact timeline to get things moving forward, but I do know that right around April 1st is when things are going to have to be wrapped up on the state level to go into the federal process for review. And that finally says, okay, we can finally make the rules. So obviously that's a lot to say that it's coming soon. And I think the take-home message for us in this region, amongst all the complexity, is that we're going to have a smaller fish, which is good because this fishery has a lot of throwbacks. I think anybody that fishes it a lot realizes you get them right up to the size limit. So having a little bit lower size limit helps you take home some fish. I'm fishing on the Morning Star May 16th, so I can't wait to fish with Captain Monty and take home my 15 fish. So I encourage people to get out there and fish the black sea bass biomass. It's at something like 283% of the goal. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of sea bass out there, and that's a great thing. So even though it is a little frustrating how the rules are made, we have good news.
So just to be perfectly clear about this, we're talking about regs for this summer, right?
Yep.
So potentially we could see that size limit drop for this summer.
Yep. Yeah, we will. We will. The exact timing is to be determined. Like I said, the southern states may want an earlier start, like an April 1st start versus the May 1st start that we're pushing for in Maryland, especially with these cold year we've had. I think these fish are going to be further offshore, colder water on the bottom as the melt happens. So to me, May 1st is fine. And that size limit drop is most valuable to folks so they can be successful and not weed through a bunch of fish that might get picked off by a something on the surface because they get that belly extended and they may not get back down. We want to avoid that waste. So the more you put in the box, the better off we are.
Yeah, that is a problem with the sea bass for sure.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the next issue, I just want to point out two things that I failed to mention earlier. I should have. The first is, people, if you got any questions, pop them into the comments. Zach will get them up on the screen, especially if you got a question for Dave right now. This is the moment to ask it because we're not going to have him with us for this entire episode. So make sure you pop them in there. Second thing I wanted to mention is we got some other prizes too on top of the angle. We got two more really cool prizes coming in addition, which I'm going to pop them on you with, you're going to have to answer some questions in order to win that stuff. So that's coming up too. But Dave, I think there's also some additional interesting information you might want to share with us about some other fisheries.
Yeah. So before I get into some legislative stuff, I'll run through that. But there's what relates to all our fisheries is how rec angler data is being collected. Back in 2022, I chaired a task force to review rec angler data. I think Lenny, you participated, right?
Yes, and this is a biggie, people.
Yeah. So DNR responded to that with a lot of the type of answers you'd expect. We don't have budget. This may work, but it doesn't work. Oh, we use the federal system. The best way to do it is supplement the federal system. They're not wrong in that. In fact, the Modern Fish Act, which was pushed by a lot of sport fishing and boating partners, CCA included, required more expenditure on more surveys of anglers to use the federal system. And when I say federal system, it's always been a partnership between states and feds, the MRIP system or MRF system. There's pieces to it. And just recently, leadership in NOAA announced that the FES or the effort survey is going to be more, there's going to be more investment and there's going to be more opportunity for the states to collect more data. There's some legislation that talks to requiring all recreational anglers to report every single striped bass we catch, doing a census like a commercial fishery for rec anglers. And that just, we'll be testifying on that next week and talking about that not being the right path forward. And to me, this news from NOAA is helpful because it says, hey, we're going to have the states try and figure this stuff out on their own. We've always said that at CCA, and we're actually proving it up and down the coast, where state fisheries connecting with the anglers are doing a better job surveying and assessing the stock and assessing the impact rec anglers have. And that's a lot of the stuff we learned about in the task force. So the information's out there. The folks that are leading the way on this have done the job. There's really good state data collection, and I think the Chesapeake Bay needs it. Both in Maryland and Virginia, Potomac River, in recreational and commercial fisheries. When you have accurate data, you can better assess the resource which exists in the bay at the time that you're trying to use it, and that's the underlying concern that exists in all of our fisheries arguments in this day. Omega's down there making an impact on an already depleted and impacted ecosystem. There's less menhaden around for crab bait. There's less menhaden around for feeding all the critters we need to be fed to have a stable system. Yet we still just march on as a management board saying, oh, we're sustainable because we're below these certain targets. And, unfortunately, it gets to a point where it's just frustrating to hear that people, toss around talking points. So to get back to the data point, the reality here is that with good data, we can have good management. With good management, we can better balance good fishing. And we shouldn't, going back to the sea bass example, we shouldn't be arguing over decimal points because this isn't decimal point type stuff.
And I just want to kind of try and boil this down for everybody and point out that what we're really talking about here is counting fish. Yep. What we're really talking about here is counting how many fish we're catching and what regulations need to be applied as a result of that. Mm-hmm. And there is a tremendous plethora of historical precedent of the MRIP counting being
terrible,
wildly inaccurate in some cases, blatantly in some cases, not always, but there are certain fisheries for which you look at the numbers and you go, that's impossible. And And when you look at what they've come up with, sometimes it's impossible to argue with. So we're looking at essentially a change in this whole system of how MRIP is taking these counts and giving more responsibility to the states for this, and sort of, taking a step back and looking at some of these figures and saying, okay, how many fish are we all really catching? And that could just have a tremendous impact on what happens next with all our different regulations.
Yep.
Before we move on to anything else,
yep.
CL popped in a question there. I saw it come up and disappear about blue cats, asking if there was anything new on that front. I'm not aware of anything. Dave, are you?
I am. But before that, the last point on rec data is, the reality here is that it takes a long time to turn this ship. And it would have been nice if we started 10 years ago, more than that, right? There's also legislation related to requiring an electronic app or developing an electronic app to report recreational catch that actually exists. So that's the last point on rec data, but stand by. I'll be giving updates on that. And there's some testimony happening on the 10th and 11th in March. And so sign up for the CCA newsletter to keep up to speed on that work because I'll be updating folks in that way. And so what's new on the blue cat front is there is legislation that would implement a blue cat gillnet fishery, which has been put forward. It's cross-filed. It's both on the House and the Senate side. So that means it has more of a path forward. I testified in the House subcommittee on Tuesday night or Monday night, maybe. No, Tuesday night. This bill was heard last week. And the idea is that it would just open up a gillnet fishery with up to, I think, 7-inch mesh to go out and catch blue cats. And unfortunately, the problem with gillnets is they have a high catch and release mortality rate or discard rate. The mortality rates are as high as like 40% with all these animals that they're catching that they're not intending to catch. And the fact of the matter is when you put out a gillnet, it's a highly effective tool at targeting certain species at certain times of year when used a certain way. But there's a lot of different critters down there. I think we all know that as anglers. And so these nets ensnare fish, birds, turtles, endangered species. This is just a reality of gill nets. And unfortunately, it's a little bit short-sighted to just open up 365-day blue catfish season.
Wait, 365 days?
Yeah, with gill nets.
So there could be gill nets floating around where?
Just about anywhere. The original bill was written with the $15 just kind of off-the-shelf invasive species license is who would be allowed to use pretty much any gill net. That got reined in a bit, but unfortunately, DNR initially supported this bill. I'm not sure what's happening now. That was partly why I attended the subcommittee on Tuesday. This is entered by Delegate Jacobs and a number of other Eastern Shore delegates, and then backed up on the Senate side by Senator Mounts. And I think their intentions are to try and get more blue cats caught by people, more revenue for watermen, more job opportunities. But there's a lot more details here that need to be considered. And people will hear from me all the time saying that we need to keep our fisheries management process in the DNR, in the management process like ASMFC, because that's the way it's been built and that's the way it's supposed to work. The legislature has every right to legislate, right? Balance of power is very important. And so this will continuously happen every legislative session. But unfortunately, this type of bill is actually undermining work that's being done by volunteers. I volunteer on the Invasive Catfish Advisory Commission, one of 17 members there. It's one of the new divisions under Inland Fisheries, which manages the blue cats. And it's really their only intersection with commercial fisheries. Their team at we would call for short ICAC is doing a great job leading great conversations. And as I told the legislature, and I'll tell anybody, my role in the way I participate there is keeping an open mind. We need to catch more of these fish. I'd love to see watermen making more money off of them, but it's never that simple. So for the last 2 ICAC meetings, we've actually discussed at length gill nets and how they impact the ecosystem, the unintended consequences. What Pandora's box that you open, because you have summertime gill nets, you have the striped bass gill net fishery, all of those already have bycatch. And so if you expand it, you're going to have even more. How do you even calculate it? Plus, there's the gray area. There's nothing black and white in this stuff. I can guarantee you just about every season, gill nets are being used improperly. It's just the nature of the beast. If you remember, I think back in 2012, I think it was, there was the big gill net bust. Anchored gill nets, tons of big dead stripers by Maryland fishermen, people going to prison. That wasn't that long ago. And, this is the type of thing that happens with an indiscriminate gear like gill nets. So Go ahead.
Let me ask you a really simple yes or no question.
Yeah.
Can you make a gill net that catches only blue catfish and not rockfish or whatever?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
There's no, and where a pound net is able to hold the fish live, they can be sorted, they can be released as long as bad water conditions don't come in, which unfortunately happens. A gill net's different. And don't get me wrong, there's a gill net fishery in the wintertime in both Virginia and Maryland with striped bass that has limited bycatch. What we discussed at ICAC was allowing the watermen that are catching blue cats in the striped bass or other legal gill net fisheries to be able to sell their catfish. Right now in Maryland, if you catch blue cats in your striped bass fishing, perfectly legal gill net for striped bass, but you catch blue cat, you have to throw them back.
Now that does seem silly.
Right? So that's what I testified in support of. That's what I spoke in support of at ICAC. And I even spoke in support of what this bill really does, which is create a pilot program. Well, a pilot program is the same thing as just a gill net fishery. It may have an end date on it, and the legislation does now, after being edited, or maybe even originally, it does have a 2030 end date to this program. So giving it a try for 4 years, 4 years is going to be a lot of dead stuff that wasn't supposed to be dead. And we've already seen market flooding on this fish. You know, they're too much in the market, price goes down, watermen don't get paid what they deserve. Folks keep it stacked up in their freezers. So we don't have the stability we need in this fishery to really go in and try and get more volume at this point. But the bottom line is what we're saying is legislature shouldn't legislate this. We have the ICAC process. DNR has full regulatory authority to create a study, a pilot program, and they've got a majority waterman advisory commission at ICAC that can help shape it in a way that makes sense. Because our January meeting, watermen were saying, yep, we have some concerns about expansion, just like I was. It's not cut and dry. It's not one side versus the other. And that's the beautiful thing about ICAC. There's a lot of really good people thinking outside the box to try and get the job done. So I hope those bills go away. It's a shame we have to spend time on it. I get that folks are represented by different interests. But a lot of these things could be hashed out if people were aware that this process was going on at DNR, and we don't have to legislate it.
Is there any force you know of that's pushing for this bill?
No, I think it's just legislators that represent districts with people that work the water, and there's a lot of frustration and a lack of progress in many things at DNR. I mean, I carry that frustration just like people that work the water. It's hard to get things done in low budget situations, and it's not DNR's fault. I mean, Tony Chaska, the director of the Inland Fisheries Division, is a fantastic leader, and his whole team's doing what they can. The good thing is there's some budget right now from Congress to get us advancing some things on the blue cat front. So that's where I'm hoping we can focus on. And maybe it does turn into a small, highly monitored gill net fishery, but highly monitored is the key. And that's, I think, the only way that DNR should let this one out the gate.
Now, Zach's already popping in on us.
He's about the yank.
I'm guessing we're overtime. But wait. Can I ask one more question before
go ahead.
Can I go ahead, Zach?
Of course.
Okay. I saw Kevin pop up with a question about any news on the Menhaden front. I don't think there is any new news. Is that accurate?
No, same old stuff. Okay. I saw a cartoon on Instagram that we shared today that was something along the lines of, $250,000 in political, support to the Virginia leadership. There was some legislative stuff happening, but nothing really groundbreaking on that front.
Right.
And it's going to take a while to see what happens with Menhaden. There is some money coming to do some studies and try and move us in the direction of better analysis of what's here in the bay, what we should harvest, when and where. That is an addendum underway at the commission. It's not brand new news, but it has been on its way. So, for folks that haven't heard that yet, pay attention to the commission process. ASMFC.org has species by species websites, or web pages, really good timelines and information about the discussions that we're having. And I'm always willing to reach out, or anybody can reach out to me. I'm always willing to take the time to guide you in the right direction and make sure you have good information.
Cool. Now, before we let you go, is there any other big news, shifts, changes we need to know about?
There's a bill out there. Let's see here. Senate Bill 755. It would just totally restructure the striped bass fishery. And there's some saying that, it's just out there to be amended to then ban catch and release fishing. We'll see what happens. We'll be testifying against that next week. What this bill would actually do, because it reshapes the season in all sorts of wacky ways, it would actually make Maryland non-compliant with the ASMFC fisheries management plan, which would shut down striped bass. So
Oh, lovely.
I don't think it has a snowball's chance in you know where to make it. And I'm going to try and help with that because nobody needs it shut down. And we all know that catch and release is perfectly fine. It's a way that we choose to utilize our resource. And on the flip side, I think it's something like 700,000 pounds of gillnet straight bass are being caught in January and February in Maryland. So, you know, Hippocrates was a great philosopher, right?
Well, Dave, I want to thank you and thank CCA for staying on top of this stuff and being there to say, no, let's be reasonable. Let's not have the entire straight bass fishery shut down because we got out of compliance with the SMFC.
Yep. We're trying to do what's right for everyone and build a big tent here. There's lots of scapegoating and other things happening, but bring it on. I'm happy to do this work on behalf of our members. And there's no simple answers here. Mother Nature is not easy. And unfortunately, as they always say, you know, a lie can make it around the world twice before the truth can get its shoes on. So in this day and age, it's the way it is. So folks, you know, if you hear anything, say something. I don't have all the answers. And if I can hear from more members and more anglers that are just from the general public, I'm here to represent all of you. We often get called a special interest group. And yeah, we have the special interest of the public and the resource, not a small group of licensed people. So I'll bring on that special interest any day and deliver for Marylanders in the future of the resource.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. And people, I just want to remind you, I know you've heard me say it before, CCA is kind of our seat at the table as far as it goes for recreational fishermen. If you're not a member, you should be. I will personally ask you, please join. We all really need to get behind it. And, you know, in this day and age, the truth of the matter is very few of us have the time, the energy to go to all the different meetings, all the different legislative events. I mean, there's just too much to even keep track of, much less attend personally. It's hard enough just to give your comments online, you know? That's what CCA is there for. It's what they do for us as anglers. So please, folks, join ccamd.org. Oh, shucks. Zach, is that a slash or a backslash?
That's a forward slash.
Forward slash ccamd.org/join. Dave, thank you for your time. We appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
All right. So, Zach, I think we dive right into. Oh, wait. Okay. Yep. Let's remind everybody. What is that? Hashtag join CCA, and you'll get your chance to win. And like I said, we got some other prizes coming up too, although I don't think they can quite stack up to this one. That is a really nice cooler.
Might fit in there. Someone asked if a big catfish would fit in there. I think it's only 20 quarts, so I said maybe like a 10-pounder. I don't know.
What is big when it comes to a big catfish, right? Because some
my
of these
biggest
blue
is
cats,
40, so I think 40 is a big one.
Right. Some of these blue cats are pretty dang big.
So anyway, thanks CCA for donating this cooler, and yeah, all you viewers out there,
Hey, Luke.
We'll be announcing the winner at 7 p.m. at the conclusion of the show.
All right, let's bring up some slides, man. Let's bring up some slides. We're gonna have to do like a lightning round because we did go overtime. All right, first bite, people, that's going off right now. Yellow perch, has the run begun? Well, it depends on where you are, sort of, kind of, maybe. We have gotten reports this week of folks not catching, and then today we got reports of people catching. Oh, wait a minute. Eric stopped by the shop and advised he was catching 9+ inch yellow perch off Madwoman. Awesome. So, yep, Mason Creek. The Pocomoke. I was down at the Pocomoke last week. This is my buddy Vadim with one of the fish we caught. It was not easy. It was not hot and heavy, but we did catch some fish. I think we went home with 6. Maybe we threw back a couple and got a pickerel. We also had really tough conditions, super duper high water. The wind was blowing out of the south and just shoving water up the river. So it was not ideal conditions. But be that as it may, we got some really warm days coming. And I tell you what, folks, the yellow perch run is not what it used to be. It no longer lasts for weeks, plural. It tends to go off in a matter of days. And in like a 3 to 5 day span, it's all going to happen. You know, I hate making predictions because it always makes me wrong. But my best guess is that, like, we get a couple more sunny 50-degree days, it's going to be on. Could be as early as this weekend. Easily could be as early as this weekend. So if you want to get the yellow perch, get on out there. All right, go ahead and take us to the next slide if you would, please, Zach. And what is your best estimate of spring spawn in tidal N9? Tidal with a prolonged freeze we had. So I'm going to assume you're talking about the striped bass spawn. It's too early to tell because we could still have a weather event that could muck things up. But we have had better general winter conditions than we have had for quite some time, many years. So cross your fingers, right? It's still a wait and see, but the outlook is much better than it has been. So cross your fingers, hope it goes well. Could be a really good one. Could be. We'll have to see. I hope that there are no crazy weather events in the next couple of weeks here. All right, Zach, you want to go ahead and take us to the next slide? And Zach, I think you should tell us what about this bite right here, since that is you.
Oh, I was fishing for pickerel this winter, and I was targeting crappie as well because there's a slam category. Honestly, I thought I'd catch a lot more. I did not catch very many, but I got a nice 13.5 there.
And this is in an Eastern Shore mill pond, right?
Correct.
And you've been back to those mill ponds since this picture was taken, and
that fish was about 2 weeks ago, I think. So usually the crappie start biting a lot more in those ponds when the weather starts spiking up into the 40s and 50s. So historically, we've had some warmer Februaries, and I catch a whole lot. So I think that crappie bite should turn on in the next few weeks. Pretty good.
But last weekend, it was like the ponds in general were not rocking it, right?
That was the week before. That was 2 weekends ago.
Right. But didn't you go last weekend?
I did, and it was much slower. But that was after they got all that snow on the Eastern Shore, and I think that snow melt kind of dropped the temps back down,
right.
and
that's
slowed the bite.
And that's really what I wanted to drive towards. The mill pond bite, and we've heard from other people too, this is not unique to Zach's experience. The mill pond bite has been a little off. It really has. That could and hopefully will change again with a couple of warm days. I would expect it to. But if you've been going over there and haven't had much luck in the last week or two, you're not alone. You're not alone. All right, let's go ahead and slide on over to the next one. And so this is our contributor, Eric Packard. He was fishing in St. Mary's Lake. Caught some fish. Didn't catch a ton of fish. 8 to 16 feet is the range he said they were in. But again, it's, the same kind of story has been going on in the lakes as in the ponds, as I experienced today. We were pickerel fishing today. We caught one fish. It was really slow. It was not a rocking good bite. And that's kind of what I've been hearing from around the dial for, it's been a couple of weeks now, really ever since the ice out. Now, the flip side to that story is, again, we get a few warm days. This could, it could totally bust open like an explosion. When these fish kick back into gear, it's going to happen. It's going to happen hard. It's going to happen fast. There is one exception to this slowness. Zach, go ahead and take us to the next slide, please. The states in our area, all of them, have been steadily stocking trout, and those trout are going. If you check the Maryland stocking schedule, the Virginia stocking schedule, it's all online. Just type into the search box, trout stocking Maryland, trout stocking Virginia, trout stocking Delaware. Everyone's been stocking it up. Pennsylvania, everyone's stocking. These fish are actually pretty darn reliable in their bite. We've heard from Eric; he's caught some. We've heard from some readers who have caught some. It's I don't want to say it's the most reliable thing right now, just because by tomorrow it could be different. But recently, it has been one of the much more reliable bites than sort of all the others. So check those stocking schedules. They generally tell you where the trout have been stocked. Remember that some places you can't fish until the season opens up. You're going to have some places that are pre-stocked, some places that are open now. Check it all out. It's worth doing. All right, next slide, please. We also have got a bite going on down at the shore. This is tog. This is not an easy fish to catch, and you need a good weather window to get outside the inlet and go get them. Now, soon, really soon, like within weeks, they should start biting at the inlets, at the CBBT, at the areas that are easier to reach. I have not been hearing about that yet. Maybe it is happening, but I haven't been hearing about it. I would expect that in the next several weeks, this bite's really going to pick up. Meanwhile, if you can get out through the inlet, you can go to a wreck, a reef. You got your shot. Put some crab baits on bottom. Always remember with these fish, you don't want to move that bait. This is not something you jig. Just put it down there on the bottom, let it sit. Wait for that tap. Set the hook as quickly as you can because, boy, these guys will steal a lot of baits. And they're frustrating. So don't feel bad if you miss them. All right. So that pretty much is our current bites right at the moment.
Got a question circling back to perch. So.
Go right ahead. Several years ago, published an article on white perch fishing in the salt ponds and the cuts that supply them. Could you talk? Yeah, sure. So the timing is a little later for those. What's going to happen is the yellow perch are going to run in the rivers, right? That's going to happen any day now. It's coming up really fast. Then the white perch are going to run up the rivers. They're usually a little later. That's often more of an early April thing than a late March thing, but it's constantly changing, so it's hard to say. After that is generally when they hit the salt ponds. The salt ponds are sort of a post-river bite. So if you follow Fish Talk's fishing reports, which of course you should do, just go to fishtalkmag.com, sign up for them. You'll get an email in your inbox when they come out Friday at noon. If you follow the reports and you see that the white perch run is going off in the rivers, you kind of know that like a week or two later, it's going to happen in the ponds. Generally, April is the month for it. Usually it's mid to late April. Again, it can change with the weather. It's kind of hard to say specifically, but that's something I wouldn't expect to happen for a little while yet. When it does happen, I'm going to tell you one thing about those salt pond perch. Man, oh man, get some grass shrimp. That seems to be like what they want every dang time. You can get some early ones sometimes right at the beginning of it on bloodworms, of all things, in those ponds. I don't know why this is, but usually before that run really begins, if you sit there all day with bloodworms on the bottom, you might be able to catch a half dozen, 8. They're usually really big ones, usually really nice ones. But after that, it's like grass shrimp, grass shrimp, grass shrimp. So, all right, we got any more questions on those bites, Zach, or should we move on to the next slide here and get into spring stuff?
No, we don't. But this person said they love the Jaws poster, and I have no idea what they're talking about. Did Dave have a Jaws poster? I don't really know. I don't have a Jaws poster.
I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you love the Jaws poster, but
the Hello Kitty fish.
Anyway,
which my daughter colored for me when she was like 5.
All right.
I don't know.
I don't know either. We'll move on.
Okay. All right. Bring up that slide. Here we go, people. You know them, you love them, your fishing reels. Why did I put this on here? Simple. I wanted to look at the line more than anything else. Any reels with mono line that you haven't changed within at least the last 3 years, strip them down, throw that line away, and put new line on it. That line is disposable. It does not last. And what happens is it degrades with UV. And even if they've been sitting in a room, as long as there's a window in that room, after 3 years, your 15-pound test, it's like 10, 11-pound test now. And you might not even realize it, but it's a fact. So any old line, strip it off, get rid of it. What about braid? Braid also, it does suffer from UV degradation, but not for a long, long time. You can pretty much use it until it gets low, is generally what I find. And if it gets low on a reel like this, what you can do is you can take, say, a 2500, some really small reel, tie the end of the line onto the empty spool, and then wind it on, sort of reverse the order that line is on the reel. And you've basically got a fresh new spool for a smaller reel. You can really pretty much use that stuff forever. It really keeps going and going. All right, go ahead and take us to the next slide, if you would, please. We're going to stick with reels for a moment here, people. And I got to tell you, I'm not a big, giant fan of taking apart a reel and doing a bunch of work on it, even though it may be maintenance work. And the reason for that is I almost always end up with spare parts laying on the floor after the reel goes back together. And I'm like, where did that go? I got no clue. So even though that's the case, I always pop the spool off and go underneath of it and clean that out. You can see how much grit, grime, and garbage gets underneath of the spool. There's usually, it depends on the reel, but there's usually a spring under there, a couple little pieces and parts. If you let them get gunked up, they will not work the way they should. You want to at least get under there and clean that off. Now, as far as opening up the reel goes, if you're that brave, the thing to do is really just to take off the side plate, take some real lube, drip it in there, and just lube it. And that's really about it. Unless you got a disaster, like a bunch of sand in there or something, just lube it up, close it back up. And, again, this is just my advice because it's me and I'll lose parts. You may feel totally capable of taking apart every little piece and cleaning it and putting it back. God bless you. But at least just take off that side plate, drip in some lube, close it back up, clean off under that spool, put it all back together, and then you're good to go for another season. All right, go ahead and take me to the next slide if you would, please, Zach. And this is one of my personal favorites. Look at those hooks. Now, I'm sure everybody can tell at a glance where I'm going with this, right? Rusty hooks. What do you do? I know a lot of guys, in fact, I think most guys probably, they'll take their rusty hooks and they'll sharpen them up. And I know a lot of guys, some really good guys who fish offshore all the time, every single time they rig a bait, they sharpen the hook. That's great. Got nothing against it. But what I'm doing with that hook, if it looks anything like that, I'm throwing it away. And here's the reason why. Today's hooks, at least quality hooks, are either laser or chemically sharpened. No matter how hard you try, you and me will never, ever, ever, ever put a point on them that's as sharp as they came out of the package. It's just not within our capabilities. So if you want to sharpen your hooks, great, go for it. Personally, I pitch them and I start fresh. Now, when you get to something like this is on a spoon, right? And this is a kind of an expensive lure. This, I'll try and clean that rust off. I'll try and sharpen it up. I'll see if I can get another season or two out of it. That's funny, Kevin. Once it gets this bad, I'm throwing it away. I'm just done with it. So Kevin's comment is funny. I'm not normally a troller, but there are occasions I will troll, and I do carry a full selection of spoons because if you don't have them, and that's the name of the game, you're kind of out of luck, But, fish like Spanish mackerel, there will be days I'll troll around for them. Certainly offshore for tuna, I'll troll for them. There are times, there are times. But, again, if my spoon's looking like that, it's going in the garbage. It's done. All right, now, our next slide. Our next slide is an important one. Some spoon manufacturers have replaced. That is totally true. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, and Tommy commented that some shops actually will offer that type of reel maintenance service. I think All Tackle does. So.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, I didn't know All Tackle did. Yes, some do, and that's hey man, I'm totally hip to that. If you want to take it in and let them handle it, absolutely. In my case, it's probably a better move with my history with parts and pieces. All right, now for the next slide, we have a very big prize we're going to give away. This is a serious prize, people. Now, I'm going to ask, remember there are two prizes coming. This is the first one. I'm going to ask only people who have a boat to enter. You'll understand why when you see the prize. It is very boat-centric, as is the slide and the question I'm going to ask. When I ask the question, the first person to type the correct answer into the comments, Zach is going to say who it is. That's going to be the winner. You'll be able to see on the comments. Number one answer, okay? So this prize, you ready for this, people? Look at this. This is a full year of Sea-Tow. It's a Sea-Tow Gold card, 1 year membership. All right. So if you've got a boat, you really want to have tow insurance. Like, I consider it critical. I actually won this, and we're going to give it away tonight because I've already got it.
That's a $249 value.
Holy cow! Is it really?
It sure is.
Wow. That's a good one, people.
Hey, can I have that?
How quick can you type in a comment quicker than everybody else? But no, you do not qualify, Zach. You're not going to win it tonight. So Zach's going to pop this slide up, and you've got to know what it is. And just type in the answer. What is it? First correct answer is going to win the Sea-Tow Gold Card. All right, Zach, whenever you're ready, go ahead and put that slide up. Get ready, people. Get ready to type. What the heck is that? And if you don't have a boat, don't worry, people. We got the other prizes for non-boat owners. Anyone guess yet?
Nothing yet.
Oh, my God. No one's guessed yet? I hope I didn't make it too hard. I don't think so. I look at that and I go, yeah, I've seen that site about 5,000 times. Oh, my God. Still no answers? Come on, people. Take a guess. No, it is not oil. Sorry, Stan. Definitely not. Wax. Brian. Brian's got it. That is paste wax. All right, Brian. Very good. Either like PM or email me or Zach after we're done tonight. We'll get your snail mail. We will send you over this 1-year Sea-Tow Gold Card. So why in the heck do I have paste wax in here for spring? Because, like, that's a boat thing, right? We care about our boats. We want them to look pretty, but what does that have to do with fishing? Actually, quite a bit. And it all boils down to work. I want to ask you guys who have boats, how many times have you spent hours and hours leaning over under the gunnels, scrubbing, trying to get off fish blood? Right? You know you've been there, right? I know I've been there. If you get a good paste wax and wax up the inside of your boat, forget about how it looks. It will make scrubbing off that fish blood about 1,000 times easier. And notice, I'm talking paste wax here, right? This is Fleet Wax. It's my personal favorite. Liquid wax, the quick and easy stuff, that'll work for about 2 weeks. Right? Carnubas, you get about 2 weeks out of that stuff. That stuff weathers away very rapidly from sun, from rain. It just doesn't last. This heavy duty paste wax, this stuff gives you a month and a half, maybe even 2 months where the fish blood splashes on there. And if you rinse it pretty quick, it'll rinse right off with a wash down hose. And if you just hit it with a brush, right, anytime, it'll come right off of there. So as an angler, this matters because now I'm spending less time cleaning up the boat and more time fishing. I don't know about you people, but when I got a bloody fish aboard, I stop fishing. I drop what I'm doing and I immediately clean up that blood. That's right. This counts, right? This really counts. And the same goes with the bait blood. Yep. If you're a boat owner and an angler, I'll bet you can remember a time you set down your rod because you wanted to clean up, because you knew if you didn't, 6 hours later, it was going to be a huge mess and a big pain in the butt. A good coat of paste wax really helps. And just so you know, on my boat, I do it in the springtime. I do it again in maybe July, and I do it again in maybe September. Just a paste wax on the inside, just to keep all that stuff going off clean. Now, like I said, that one was for boat owners, right? Now we got one for non-boat owners. And if you're a boat owner, and you chimed in on this question, I'm going to ask you to please forego the next one and let everybody who doesn't have a boat get in their shot at answering the question. This one, man, I'll be shocked if it takes that long for someone to get the right answer. And I'm just simply going to ask you now, before we even put it up, what's wrong with this picture? Okay, that's the question. What's wrong with this picture? Zach, go ahead and throw it on up there. What is wrong with this picture? Come on, people. Come on. The heartbeat sound is really cool, Zach. I don't know how you came up with that one. Oh, come on. It's so wrong. It's so wrong.
All right.
Trebles. Thank you. Who is that?
S.
R.W. Kennedy. Good job. You're a winner. You are going to win one of Fish Talk's new books. We have a new kayak fishing book And we also have
Hold that book up again.
Whoop. There's the kayak. Oh, it's hard to figure out how it works in the camera thing. So our kayak fishing book covers obviously kayak fishing, but we also have our guide to anglers for beginning to intermediate anglers, which covers the basics into intermediate tactics, tackle, that kind of thing. You get your choice. You can pick whichever one you want. Again, PM or email me or Zach after this, and we'll send you out whichever book you would like. And people, if anybody else would like to get one of these books, either the kayak book or the guide, they are available at fishtalkmag.com. There's a little store button, right? Gear button? Store. Yeah. Just click on the store button. You'll go right there. They're pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about them. We cover a lot of ground in these books. We'll have some more down the line, but right now we got these two out for the start. And, I looked at that picture and I was like, wow, that's obvious. Get rid of those trebles. Ditch those treble hooks. And we've talked about this many times before. They're way hard on the fish. They're way hard on your hands. There's a lot of things about them that
Eric Packard.
Get rid of them. So that's a great spring project, right? You got a rainy March day. Perfect time to do it. I also did want to put up this picture to show one other thing. Can you make it big again, Zach? Can we make it big? So you can see in this tackle box, there's not a lot of garbage in there, right? There's not a lot of dirt, not a lot of rust, not a lot of specks. Tackle boxes gather garbage. And no matter how careful you are, something gets rusty in there, dust gets in there, whatever. This is a great time to take that tackle box out, clean it out, clean everything up, dump out all the lures on the floor. If you have single hooks, you won't hook the carpet. If you got trebles, you will. But give that tackle box a cleaning, because all these lures, you can see these all look pretty nice and neat, right? But everybody's got the lures that look like trash. And it's not necessarily because they've been beaten up by a fish and had the finish rubbed off. That's a good lure. We like that, right? But a lot of them just get roughed up from all the garbage in the tackle box. And then they lose their shine. They're not as nice. So Mike's saying, I knew the answer because Zach yelled at me out of the pickerel tournament. Yep.
I never yell.
It's kind of amazing when you go to singles on these. There's a jig in the top water box. Oops. Yeah, there is. It is kind of amazing when you start swapping out for the singles. You'll be shocked at how little difference you notice in how many strikes to misses there are. The singles really work just fine. I'm not sure whoever decided treble hooks were necessary on lures like this, but I'm telling you, they were wrong. You do not need trebles on these lures. You put singles on there, there's not a big drop off in how many fish you hook. And the other thing to think about is the fact that with trebles, a lot of the time, you get pulled hooks, or you hook fish on the outside. You hook them in the face. We really don't need them. I wish they would stop putting them on everything. All right, Zach, go ahead and take us to the next slide, please. And this is so. I kind of want to make a big deal out about this. And how many fewer hand injuries? Absolutely. Yeah. Hand, back of the head, whatever. Tommy's saying Plano edge tackle boxes are game changer for keeping baits from getting tangled also. That's interesting. I've seen those and I haven't used them, Tommy, so I might have to try them out. They do look pretty cool. So this slide is a scale, a hand scale, and this is scale setting a drag. Now, among all the anglers I have ever known, 98.5% set the drag by grabbing the line and tugging and going, that feels about right. And that used to be what I did too. Now, most of us know from reading here, there, whatever, that you really want the drag set to about 1/3 of the line's pound test. So if you got 30-pound test, you want to put out 10 pounds of drag. That's kind of a normal rule of thumb. I dare each and every one of you to take a hand scale and scale set a few of your drags and then grab it and pull and ask yourself, wow, was my drag set all those times when I just kind of gave it a tug and pulled? Because you'll be shocked at the difference. I guarantee it. It is not what most people think it is. 10 pounds of drag is not what most people think it is. Or do 15-pound test, 5 pounds of drag, whatever. Now, it's always good. I always like to start the year with scale set drags. It's not like I scale set them before every trip, but I always like to start the year with it. It's a good spring project to do. And it's good to get a kind of a mental picture of what the properly set drag feels like when you're tugging on it. I'll bet you'll be really surprised. Again, it's just not what most people think it is. Some people end up setting them too heavy, but that's unusual. Most people actually set their drags at far less than a third of the pound test of the line that's on there. And some people are all over the map. You know, they set their 6-pound test one way and their 12-pound test another and the 30 another, and you just never really know. So if you go through the process of scale setting all your drags, not only will you be starting out the spring right with a properly set drag, you'll also get a real new kind of mental framework of just what that drag really should be set at. So I strongly encourage it. Kevin saying offshore anglers in the know always use a scale to set their drags. Kevin, I don't disagree with you, but I almost never see it. It's very rare. You're right. But almost nobody does it. And the other thing to keep in mind is, you know, if you did it a year ago, once in the spring, now you take out your reel, it's not the same. It's not the same. I guarantee you, A, somebody messed with it when you weren't looking, or B, you know, the metal in an offshore reel shrinks and expands with temperature changes. And a full year later, it's not going to be exactly the same as it was. But be that as it may, in my experience, somebody always messes with a drag. No matter how many times you say, don't mess with a drag, somebody messes with a drag. Like, it always happens. All right, let's go ahead to our next slide, please, Zach. We got one more to talk about here. Okay, go ahead and make that big. Thank you. So you may recognize some of this stuff because it's all sitting behind me right now, and it's in the background. This is my rod rack. What I wanted to express here was this stuff, most of it, not all of it, has been sitting on the rack for quite a while. Those paddle tails and that top water were last used either the last week of December or the first week of January. That little bucktail, I just don't even remember when it was last used. This stuff has been sitting for several months. Now, if you pick that up and throw it out and hook a fish, that fish will probably break you off. Simple reason why. Knots in monofilament, and this includes fluorocarbon leaders, because fluorocarbon is a type of monofilament. Knots weaken with age. Okay? If your stuff has been sitting for months, that knot is going to be way weaker than if you tied it fresh. You can probably, out of these four, you could probably grab one and snap it right now, would be my guess. I could probably just turn around, grab one, and snap it off. They're probably not all that weak, but they're all weaker. So anytime any of your stuff is set for months at a time, you want to snip every lure off the line and tie a fresh knot. Now, you also want to feel that leader, make sure the leader hasn't been roughed up, check your line, give all this stuff a nice look. Herb saying, good to see the hooks are not inside. No, I never put them inside the eye, always on the foot. Always on the foot. But, you know, never let those knots sit. Even midsummer, if I pick up a rig and I look at it and I go, you know, I don't think I've used this in a few months. I will snip that off the night before and retie the knot. Because those knots, man, you just can't. Zach, you correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we go fishing one day in the spring and someone on the boat took a cast and broke off. And I was like, "Did you retie that knot?" And they were like, you remember that?
Was that me?
That might have been you.
I think I had a bail flip. That was a bail flip.
Yeah, I think that might have been you. Yeah, retie all those knots, people. Not just, I mean, spring is a great time, obviously, to go and do this, but not just spring. Truthfully, whenever you're fishing through the season, anything you haven't used in a month or two, just snip it off and retie it. The knots do not last forever. All right, Zach, I think if we don't have any more questions popping in, we may have arrived at the time to give away that cooler, huh?
I think so.
Ooh.
Last call to enter in the Engel HD20 cooler bag.
Wait a minute. I didn't enter yet. Can I enter? Yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right. People, cross your fingers.
Thank you, Elvis. That's a cool name. Is your name really Elvis Costello? That's fun.
All right. You going to do a spinning wheel or what?
Mike, Mike doesn't need another cooler. What are you doing? Hey, there's a typo there. If you want, I'll give you a 30 seconds.
Oh boy,
redo that.
Yep. Fix the typo. Fix the typo. And I tell you, I have one of the soft side Engels. It's a different style. It's the one that you sling over the shoulder. And for soft side coolers, they are shockingly insulated. Like they do not lose ice, you know. They keep the cold really, really good.
Trying to find my giveaway tool here. All right, here we go. Oh, yep, there it is. All right, and entries are closed, and I'm gonna pick this winner.
Let her rip.
Jim Dixon.
Jim Dixon. Congratulations, Jim. Now, how does Jim collect his cooler?
Jim, just I'm gonna pop up a email for you here. Just shoot an email over to information@ccamd.org and just let them know that you were the winner of the Engel on Live with Lenny, and Dave will hook you up.
Awesome. Congratulations, Jim. I want to say thank you one more time to David for tuning in. Wendy, thank you for joining in. Hey, tune in next time because we try and give away stuff every time. You know, it's fun giving away stuff. And of course, if you're in the invasive species count, don't forget every month we're giving away really cool goodies. Actually, in the invasive species count, this month was just a bomb because nobody could go fishing. It's funny, we saw it in the fishing reports. The month of February, there were like no reader reports because nobody could go fishing. We had one or two ice fishers check in. But there wasn't even a ton of ice fishing going on, really. I'm not sure why, but it was this February was one tough month for angling in the Mid-Atlantic region. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And Zach, thank you for running the show as always.
Absolutely. And our friends over in the Potomac, Fish Potomac, Captain Tim and Captain Seth, they just posted the other day that I guess the MDE and other agencies have been monitoring the water conditions, and it is back to a safe level. So don't be discouraged on hitting the Potomac, and consider booking a trip with those guys. They got 3 boats. I've been on one of them. They know what they're doing out there.
That's good to hear. I didn't know that they had given the all clear on that yet.
Yep, that's the word. So
awesome.
Yeah.
All righty then.
Mike's right. It's just about snakehead time. See you on the water this weekend. Hope so.
Yeah.
And one last reminder to check our fishing reports out. They will go live by noon tomorrow, usually a little bit earlier, but by noon every Friday. So check those out. Like Lenny said, they're not flowing in like crazy, but fishing's about to kick off. Yep.
We
They lifted
had-
the thing
Oh,
today.
good. We had more reader reports come in this week than we had for the last month. But the downside is, I mean, everybody heard the early synopsis of the fisheries. The downside is most of them were people who either didn't catch or they struggled and caught a few. You know, no big numbers coming in yet. But this weekend looks good. It was warm today. It's warm the next few days. This weekend could really look good.
Got you. And hopefully we'll have an update on the striped bass regs. And follow us on Facebook. Check out our website. Sign up for emails. And we'll be sure to notify you when we hear the news.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.